G'day there, it's Aaron here from Charlie Boots. Welcome to another one of our online video tutorials. They're a big part of what we do here at Charlie Boots. They're the essence of all our craft kits that we send out. Every craft kit has access to our online videos through our workshop zone, so make sure you check out all of them. But this one's all about our paint by numbers senior workshops, and it's a bit of a guide on how to do them. You know, some of the tips and tricks that we know to ensure that you guys are going to get a great result when you paint your kangaroo or your riverside canoe scene. So let's get stuck into it. So the first tip, get yourself set up in a clean work area. That means nothing in your way, lots of light, really comfy space. These kits, if done well, will take you many hours over many days because you do a little bit at a time, you let it dry, and then you do the next color. So you want to be really comfortable in where you're going to sit. So the things you'll need are obviously the kit, which comes with the paint, the canvas, the instructions, and the paintbrush. But we also recommend having some paper towel to clean your brush from time to time, obviously some fresh clean water, and another piece of paper to be able to mix up any colors, which you will need to do in the kits. And I'll talk more about that later. So first tip, clean area, comfy seat. Second tip, get yourself all set up with everything you need. So third tip talks about starting with the biggest areas first. And that helps you to, first of all, get those big pieces done and out of the way, but also you're starting at the top. So you got the sky here and the kangaroo. You can see this is all color number 6, which is our blue color here. So we want to do that area first, starting at the top and working our way down, going through those big colors. So start in descending order, big areas to small areas. So next tip is you want to do all the same color at the same time. So we got color 6 up here, which is once again our blue color, and we'll start at the top and we'll work our way down, and we'll do all of that one color in every little section that we can find. It's so important for you guys to let each color dry. Spend as much time as you need to get that painted and to let it dry before you go into the next one. If you like, leave it overnight. The more patience you have with your color by numbers, the better the result's going to be. So color everything, all the 6s all at once, all the 5s all at once, and then let it dry, okay? Make sure you do that. Don't be tempted to keep on going, just let it dry. The next one, whenever you're not using a paint, keep the lid shut. You don't want to dry it out. That's all the paint you have for the kit. So use a little bit, shut the lid. Make sure you do that. Right, so the next tip is all about how much paint do you use when you're coloring in those sections. And a good tip here is to have your brush just a little bit damp. Sometimes the paint supplied is a little thick, but that's good because it means that you get more use out of it because you can thin it down with a little bit of water. So have your brush just a little bit damp and use the paper towel if you need to dry it a bit. But only use enough paint just to fill that surface and just so you can no longer see the number. Don't go outside the edges. Don't put on more paint than necessary because it'll use too much paint. You may run out and it'll take longer to dry. So only use enough paint so you can no longer see the number or the lines around that little segment you're coloring in. Really important. Smudges, no one likes smudges. So the next tip is all about how do you prevent smudges? What do you do if you make a smudge? So first of all, we talked about it before, to avoid smudges, start at the top and work your way down. That way your elbow or your arm, your wrist isn't going to be dragging you across the artwork. Number 2, if you've got a smudge in there, what do? Leave it. Let it dry. Contain it in the area where the smudge is and go back with the correct paints and go back over the top. And if you need to, because you can't see the numbers, refer back to the image on the box itself that the kit came with, and that'll tell you exactly what color to use. But don't try to fix it straight away. Let the smudge dry. Okay, so we're going to get started here. I've got my blue and I've got the lid open. I've got my water here as well. Here's the blue. There it is. I'll move it down for you a bit, and I'm going to start at the top here, of course. And like I mentioned, I'm going to wet my brush in the clean water, and I've got some paper towel here, and I'm just going to take a little bit of water off. And I find it helps to take the actual paint out of the color tray so you know which one you're working with, and it's easier to open and shut that way. Now I'm going to start up here in the top left hand corner because I'm a right hander. I'm going to go this way. If you're a left-handed, you'd start in the top right-hand corner. Pretty simple. So a little bit of water and off we go. So This is a big area. I'm not going to do the whole lot now to show you guys that. This is pretty straightforward, but I just wanted to make a point of starting here in the corner as per the instructions. Now tips. You can see how much paint I'm actually putting on that brush. Just the smallest amount. And I'm not going in all sorts of directions. I'm keeping the direction the same. So I'll do a little bit more and then I'll move on and show you some other techniques. You see how I'm thinning that paint out? And like we said, we want just enough paint so we can no longer see the numbers. Water in there as well. When I'm going around where there's a line, I go right up to that line, I take my time, I rest my hand on the artwork. And I just go in a steady movement, follow the line around, keeping a really close eye on where the tip of my brush is. I don't want to be looking anywhere else except for my artwork. You can see how much time I'm taking when I'm doing this. I'm certainly not rushing it. I'm not trying to do it as fast as I possibly can. I really am just taking my time. So what I'll do is I'll finish this little section here, just to the left of the kangaroo's head and ear, and then we'll move on to some other areas of blue. And where possible, you really want to try and keep that color so consistent. So if that's all the blue, you want to keep that the same thickness, the same shade, same consistency of color. So we're getting into a tricky section here where you can see there's some detail around the hairs below the ears of the kangaroo. So really taking our time. You see, by keeping your brush just that little bit wet with water, it's a very fine tip. Very fine, almost as sharp as a pencil. It means you can do that detailed work. So I'm always doing a little dab in my water. Just a tiny look, just basically rest my hand and just the tip of it, and that's it. Alright, so we'll leave that section now. I'll show you some other parts of the blue that we're going to do. Can you zoom out? And they are down in here, and it's a really small section. There's some very small areas of blue. Now normally when you guys are doing this, definitely start from your top and you work it all the way down. But because I don't want to make this video too long, I'm going to move ahead to some of these other areas here. Just show you how we do that. So there's, if you look, and always referring back to our actual image, you can see there's some blue here in behind the gum trees. So that's in here. So we have 6 here. So let's start with that. So I'm going to do a couple of sections here, the 6, and then I'm going to wash my brush and show you some other colors as well. So 6 in there, you can see how delicate I am using my brush. In these small areas, I'm not doing big brush strokes, it's more about staying near the line and pulling away from it. Instead of trying to sweep through it, start near the line and move back from it. And if you need to change the angle of your hand or the angle of the artwork, that's okay. So wash my brush. There's a lot of water in there, so if I took that brush straight from the water and put it into another paint, it'd be too wet. So that's why I've got my paper towel here. I'm just going to take just a little bit off, just a little, just like that. And of course, I'm going to shut my paint and put it back in my tray. So now I want to show you guys how we mix colors. So up here we've got a section of the ear of the kangaroo, and we need to mix colors 14 and 17, which is basically 14 and 17. And the way that I recommend to do that is to use another piece of paper and take small amounts of each, mix it on the paper over here, mix it on the paper with a little bit of water, and then only mix just enough to fill those areas, and try and find all the 4/17 areas. So we've obviously got this ear here, there's a portion in here, there's some through here as well, in here. So we'll try and get all those done, 14, 17 in here as well. So what I'm going to do, I've already got a clean brush. I'm going to open up my 14 and just take a good amount of it and then wipe it on my paper. And then I'll clean my brush, get rid of the excess water on my paper towel. Shut the lid, put that back, get the 17 and do an equal amount in there. Shut the lid, of course, and then I just mix them up. And I want to get to the point where I've used all of this up. There's none left, so I don't want to waste any paint. So I'll use, so remember this is color 14 and 17. So I'm mixing it all up, and that is in here. I'll zoom in for you. Up here. And that's how you mix the colors up. It's pretty straightforward. You don't want to mix it up on the canvas itself. You want to do it on another piece of paper, or if you have it on a palette. And I want to get it so I'm going over the blue lines so you can't see the blue lines anymore. That's a real indicator of how well you've done, is that you've just gone over those blue lines separating the different colors. You can no longer see it. If you do go a little bit over that, it's totally fine. Looks looking pretty good. So some other sections. I'm going to keep going with this color till it's all gone. So it's 14, 17. You got to keep that number in your head. Would also be worthwhile, something would be worthwhile doing is just writing that down. 14, 17, just like that. So you know which color you've mixed up. And there's also some 14, 17 down here on the jelly. Alright guys, that's everything you really need to know. So I've shown you how to set up your workspace, all the different things you need to start your color by numbers. I've shown you how to mix the paints. I've told you all about keeping your brush clean, keeping your area clean, keeping your lids on your paints, only doing one area at a time. If you do a smudge, let the smudge dry, you'll be able to paint over it and fix it, no problem. I've told you about referring back to the actual outside of the kit itself, so you know what paintwork should look like. But apart from that, team, just get stuck into it, have lots of fun. And what I do want you to do is to send me a picture of your finished artwork so that we can give you some feedback and some critique. That's really big, and what we want to give you guys is that opportunity to learn new skills and get creative, but also to get feedback, know where you could potentially improve, and also always ask us questions. You can give us a call on the number on the screen or on the email, Always ask questions. We're happy to answer them. That's what we're here for. That's a big part of what we do here at Charlie Boots. It's about instruction, it's about learning, it's about feedback, it's about the opportunity to find out how you can do better. But apart from that, I can't wait to see your artworks, and I'll see you guys in the next Charlie Boots video. Take care.